Okay, so last night I was thinking about it, and I don't think I ever did a video on this knife. This is my other Great Eastern Cutlery 23 that I bought. Another double blade 23. I didn't get any of the single blade 23s. I kind of wanted one, and I was trying to get the jigged bone locking one, the single blade, but it sold out like immediately from traditional pocket knives, so I didn't end up getting that. But I did get a second double blade 23. I got this months ago, but I just never did a video about it. And I think they call this the natural autumn bone, something like that. Natural meaning, I guess they didn't like do anything to contour it, so they're all like different and everything. And I got a pretty cool one. I think I got this knife from Blade HQ just because they had them at the time. Um, yeah, before I talk much more about the knife, I got a background here. I never really worried about the background before because I wasn't really into doing tabletop videos. But since I've been doing these, my little wooden table is kind of dark, and I wanted to get something a little bit lighter. So I was looking for, one of those cutting mats, and I got one. It's not as wide as I wanted it to be, so it doesn't cover the whole table. So there's some, like, you can see over here, there's edges to it, because it's not quite as wide as I wanted it to be. But it is in a nice color. It's like a light blue, like a periwinkle blue or like a Tiffany blue. It's a nice color. It's lighter than the table, so I'm hoping it'll help with the lighting and everything. The camera's kind of doing its own thing with dimming and everything right now, it's annoying. But unfortunately, to have this camera, which has the better autofocus, I can't really screw around with the like light intake and everything. It's just always on auto, so unfortunately, I can't really change that. Um, but anyway, this is an unexcelled 23, a Northfield unexcelled. That just means, it's better polished, fancier knife with better, not better, but more fancy, like, cover materials and everything. You can see it's got these, they call these threaded bolsters, lined bolsters. My camera's not wanting to focus on. It almost focused for a second there. But you can see it's got the two lines on the bolster there that is either called a lined bolster or a threaded bolster. It's got these nice, natural bone, which looks pretty cool in my opinion. It's got the Northfield unexcelled shield there, which I think looks pretty cool. And the blades have a really high polish to them. And they also have that Northfield etch on them. It's going to be hard for me to show because the blades are covered in mineral oil so that it doesn't rust while it's in my knife storage. That being said, I have carried this knife a couple times. I just prefer my micarta one, I think. But I have carried this and I have used this knife. There's a little bit of patina here that you're not going to be able to see because mineral oil. Also, the big old spade blade here rubs against the liner when I go to take it out. I think it just sometimes, the blade just moves a little bit when you go to pull it out, and it'll rub against the liner. So, not the biggest deal in the world for me because all of my knives are user knives. And another thing that is kind of a deal, slightly annoying, this spade blade, if I let it just drop shut, it bangs into the back spring. So it has blade wrap. So I gotta remember to be careful closing that spade blade, which is kind of hard for me to do. So most of the time it's got a little divot in the blade from hitting the back spring. So that's kind of annoying. My micarta one doesn't do that. I think that's another reason why I like to carry the micarta one more. Also, with the micarta one, if I drop it, it's not going to break. Whereas with this one being bone, if I drop it on this end, it could very easily crack that bone and, pretty much ruin the knife. But that being said, I do still throw this knife in my pocket every now and then. When I'm feeling more fancy, I guess. These 23s are huge. kind of hard to carry in your pocket, but I have done it several times. I do have a leather sheath for them. When I'm out hiking or something and I feel like bringing a 23, I'll throw it in that and put it on my belt. But most of the time I just carry them in my pocket because it's easier. But yeah, so that's I think they call it the Natural Autumn Bone, number 23 Pioneer Trapper from Great Eastern Cutlery. That for some reason I never did a video on. So I figured I'd do a video on it. Especially since I'm not buying knives for the whole month of December. So I'm going to have to find another way to come up with videos to make. Because I'd still like to put out at least one a week. So yeah, I think this background will work out. I'll just have to kind of figure out exactly how well it's going to work with these edges here and everything. And I could probably find something a little bit bigger. One cool thing about this is since it has the inch markers, I don't have to pull out my ruler anymore on camera. I can just say, oh yeah, it's 4.5 inches closed, and you know, the blade's like 3.5 inches, well, 3 3/4 inches. You know, I don't have to pull out my ruler anymore, so that'll be nice. It'll kind of be like Patty's potato peelers out here and just measure the knife using the squares on this mat. Yeah, at some point I might try to get one of the wider mats, but I think for right now, for $6 from Walmart, I think this will work. But yeah,